Is this the big bad Nazi y'all want me to be afraid of? For real? Come on. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about a neo-Nazi group, or maybe a couple of groups, Blood Tribe and Goyim Defense League, so-called protesting out there in Orlando, Florida, near Disney World. Now, video of their march, protest, whatever you want to call it, has gone viral. There's a lot of articles and think pieces talking about white supremacy is here. It's a real threat. We should all be afraid. There's all kind of stuff going on. But once you look into these guys and see what's really going on, I think there's nothing to fear. And I think that the majority of these guys, if not all, are connected to the federal government in some kind of way. Federal informant, FBI agent, that's what it looks like to me. And if it's not that, then I can't tell. And before we go any further into it, let's just roll some film here. And of course, everything that I'm going to show right now will be in the box. We're going to name some names. We're going to get into some deep information and a whole lot more. But first things first, here is their little march protest out there in Altamonte Springs, Florida, right in the Orlando metro area.
White power! 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 Vote for Ron DeSantis! Yeah, Ron DeSantis. 2024.
Okay, so there was so much in this first clip. There was so much there. First of all, where are they even at? There's nobody. There's no counter protesters. There's no even real traffic. What time of the day is this? I can't really tell. They're just out there on the street corner with nobody to really counteract them. They're just chanting white power. And then at the end of it, after the really aggressive white power, after all of that, they say, hey, vote Ron DeSantis. Really, really random. Really, really random. Now, the media will key in on this, talking about, oh, where's DeSantis to disavow these people? DeSantis is emboldening these people. They'll say all kind of stuff, but they won't say too much about this next clip we're going to show in just 1 minute. But first, this reminds me again of the Lincoln Project. Remember back in the day, this is 2021, if I'm not mistaken, when Glenn Youngkin was running for governor in Virginia, there was a group of people out there with tiki torches standing by his tour bus. Now, I knew that this was bogus right away because look at these people. Look at these people. You got a black guy, a woman, just really random stuff. Okay, out here in the rain with khakis and white shirts. There's supposed to be some kind of white supremacist group, some kind of racially threatening group, but yet they're diverse. It's like when your corporate Lincoln Project structure meets the real world, it doesn't really line up. So I knew from the beginning that this was fake, the same way that I suspect that what's going on in Florida and also in Maine, we'll get to in a minute, is also fake. Or if it's real, it's 80% buttressed by the federal government itself. Now let's continue. Again, here's another thing. There was a plot to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan. And they said it was a white supremacist group, a hate group or whatever. But what they found out is that 80% or 90% of the people were either FBI agents or FBI informants. And there's articles to back it up. This is Associated Press, AP. They say right here, lawyers, FBI lured men for Michigan Governor Whitmer kidnapping plot. And then another one, the Chicago Sun-Times. FBI's tactics doomed case against men charged in kidnapping plot of Michigan governor. And let's get into the subhead here. The appearance of entrapment, the difficulty of distinguishing between fantasy and criminal conspiracy explains the embarrassing outcome of the federal trial in which jurors acquitted two alleged conspirators and failed to reach verdicts for the other two. Because everybody was an informant and there was obvious entrapment. And that's what's going on here. All right, here's another one. New York Times, roles of the FBI and informants, Myrtle Lake, Michigan governor kidnapping case. All right, so we know that the federales do this, okay? Here's an article from Rolling Stone about what happened right here. This individual with the nice Irish beard and the tattoos and the Nazi symbol. We'll talk about him in a minute. You know, really threatening, menacing individual, right? Well, what if I told you that's the same guy from the video I told you at the very beginning where he wiped the tears away from his eyes, crying in his car? And I'm going to tell you why he was crying in a minute. But that's the same guy, right? And you see the headline, videos show angry neo-Nazis cursing and screaming slurs during march in Florida. Subhead, this is just the beginning. The leader of the neo-Nazi group Blood Tribe warned. All right, so really threatening, really menacing. They're also out there in Maine. I think this is where the guy just showed you, where he is headquartered. He's out there in Maine talking about we're going to spread, we're going to explode in numbers, and then they went down there to Florida to demonstrate, okay? But they are, or at least that one guy's in Maine. Don't know why he's in Maine specifically, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Now, you saw where at the beginning where I showed the guys, and they said, vote Ron DeSantis. Now, listen to this. The media wants to cover what you saw at the beginning, but what about this?
Christopher, there's a presidential race going on right now. Are you going to vote in 2024? What do you think is going to happen?
My vote is useless. I think Biden's better than Trump because he sends rockets to Ukraine.
In support of Ukraine, you mean?
Hell Ukraine, hell Azov.
Christopher, there's a...
So the guy said, Slava Ukraine. So this is very interesting. So this guy in the back, his name is Boneface. We're going to learn more about him in a minute. This guy is Christopher Polehouse. Boneface has been to the penitentiary before. He got locked up in 2012, if I'm not mistaken. Then he fled to Ukraine to fight for Ukraine as part of their force against Russia. And he is a real Nazi guy. But the question is, how does a person get locked up on federal charges, go to Ukraine, fight for them, and walk around Florida like it ain't nothing going on? Is it because he is a federal informant at this particular point? Like Suicide Squad, you ever seen that movie where these guys are in jail forever and then they get to come out to do a job for the government? That appears to be what's going on right here, which explains why this guy's unmasked and he's unmasked, but everybody else has masks on. They want you to see these guys because they have some validity. These guys are actually what they say they are to a certain extent, but I think they are also federal informants. Now, we got quite a bit more to get into. This is your man you just saw, and I showed him at the beginning, but I didn't let you hear the audio of what he was saying. Now, we go from this big bad, Slava Ukraine, white power, all this and that. We go from big bad, scary Nazi to this.
Just from like fun, flirty text to like nasty in a couple days. So I know what's happening, and you know, I'm not dumb, and I don't. And it's not even like, look, I don't care about my wife. She can and be with any dude she wants.
Okay, so you heard that. That was a little graphic, but
From like,
you see what's going on right here. My man's wiping tears from his eyes. He's crying, sniffling, and all of that. Talking about his wife could do whatever she wants to do with other people. Okay, big bad Nazi guy, you want me to be afraid of you, but you can't even control your own wife in your own household, and you in your car crying about it on the internet. I would never get on the internet and record myself crying about some personal issue. You are soft. When these guys go to prison, which they probably have been already in prison, they will become somebody's girlfriend. That's what's going to happen. Unless they go to Ukraine or somewhere, but you go to prison here in the United States, you're going to be somebody's girlfriend. I'm not buying this scary Nazi act. I'm just not buying it at all. Now, there was another group there. You had Blood Tribe, and I think that's the group that the big bad scary Nazi guy crying about his wife, dealing with other men. I think he was the leader behind that. Now, the other group, GDL, Goyim Defense League, they are led out by a guy by the name of John Menadeo. Now, John Menadeo tried to be a rapper at a certain point. And what was his name? His name was Shuby DeWap. I'm not making this up. Shout out to Laura Loomer for this piece of intel. And do you guys want to hear some of Shuby DeWap's music? No, oh, don't worry about it. I'm gonna play it anyway. Check it out.
Cooler than an icicle, ride 'em like a bicycle, threesomes on tricycle. The sex is phenomenal, the boobies are bionicle.
Okay, there you got it. That is your big bad Nazi trying to be a rapper and failing. So you know what? If I can't be a rapper by the name of Shubi Doo-Wop, I'm gonna be a Nazi on the internet. And check it out. One more piece of information about this guy. He's also allegedly a child predator. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? No, wait, watch this. I'm gonna read it. I'm not gonna play this right here. This is him on the chat app called Omegle. I've never used it before, but I've seen it on the internet. And basically, what you do, you're on there and you get paired with people to talk to randomly. And he was on there talking to a minor. Now let's read this right here. Not only is John Menadeo the leader of the Nazi group Goyim Defense League, GDL, a failed rapper, but he could very well be a child predator as well. Here's a video of him using Omegle to communicate with a minor. In the video, he tells the underage girl that she should get a swastika tattoo. Then he, as a nearly 40-year-old man, lifts his shirt and shows the young girl a Nazi tattoo. He used it to target children and tries to recruit teenagers online into the neo-Nazi movement. Is he a pedophile? Really makes you wonder what's on this hard drive. It's predator behavior. So are these the guys, again, that I should be afraid of, that are going to hurt me because I'm a black person? Are these the guys? These guys will go to prison and be somebody's girlfriend, 100%. Now, let's go back to your man right here with all the tattoos, Boneface, all right? So Laura Loomer, again, shout out to her. Kent Boneface McClellan was arrested by the FBI in Florida for domestic terrorism in May of 2012. The FBI said he and others were preparing a terrorist act against national minorities in Florida. He then fled to Ukraine to join Right Sector, a creation of the CIA, in 2014. In 2022, he returned to Ukraine and was reportedly deported. Now he's back in Florida, where he's active in the local Nazi scene. Yesterday, he was on I-4 with a group of Nazis who were saying they support Joe Biden while they were waving swastika flags and shouting slurs at me because she's Jewish. There is no way you can get away with all that after being arrested by the FBI for domestic terrorism. There's no way you can get away with traveling to Ukraine to fight in a foreign war as an American citizen, defected mercenary, unless you're some type of FBI or CIA informant. And I think that is 100% correct. And before I continue, if anyone wants to join a popular quote unquote white supremacist or neo-Nazi group in the USA in 2023, you're going to the penitentiary. You are going to get locked up. The only way you don't get locked up is if the federales fumble the case against you. But there will be a case against you as soon as you even show interest in joining. That's a fact. Now, let's play this right here.
Slava Ukraini, Boneface here. I'm not much of a, not really quite used to doing the webcam thing, but you know, it's worth a shot, you know? So, I'd like to apologize ahead of time for any sort of inaccuracies or anything.
So, you got Ukraine flags in the back, the Azov Battalion. We told y'all about that a long time ago. You see the Ukraine patch on the sleeve right there, bottom left-hand corner. How do you feel about 40 billion plus of your U.S. hard-earned taxpayer dollars going to support literal white supremacists and neo-Nazis in Ukraine? How do you feel about that? Oh, is it because it's okay because they're fighting Russia? Why is Russia the enemy? And why are the actual Nazis in Ukraine our friend? How does that really work? How do you get arrested on federal charges in the United States and then go get to fight in Ukraine being bolstered by taxpayer money? How does that really work? I don't really know, but I digress. Now, so here's something about the federales. And the guy, Boneface, his name is Kent McClellan, okay? Ukrainian Nazis are recruiting Nazis from Florida to fight in the Ukraine war. You can't make it up. So Kent McClellan is an American neo-Nazi who fought in the Donbass as part of the Nazi Right Sector movement. He then joined Ukraine's Nazi Azov Battalion after Russia launched an attack on Ukraine. So who's the good guys and the bad guys here? the guys that are fighting the Nazis are the bad guys. It's kind of weird. I thought that was the other way around during World War II, but whatever. I digress. According to one report from 2022, McClellan received a Ukrainian passport in March 2022. Kent McClellan is a man who has a swastika tattoo on half of his torso. He has killed civilians, had several convictions in the United States, and has several neo-Nazi associations. This man now has Ukrainian citizenship. How is a guy like this able to walk around? If Laura Loomer found all this out from information that's known publicly, how is this guy able to walk around the U.S. like it ain't nothing going on?
We got visual on Loomer. Over.
So, I mean, these are the guys that you support with your taxpayer money. These are the guys that I'm being told that they're neo-Nazi, white supremacists, and they hate black people, all this, that, and the third. But what I see is a government operation, allegedly, potentially. I don't want them to try to say on supremacist information. But look, as I close, I want to say this. I don't know how you can have all these convictions against you, be part of an active white supremacist movement in the United States, and be allowed to roam free. Remember the whole Gretchen Whitmer thing. They were getting guys, or trying to get guys, locked up on that who really didn't do much, who were just being brought in by the federales. January 6th, you got guys deprived of basic due process who didn't do anything other than just appear inside the Capitol that day. So an actual white supremacist, a guy who's been to jail, been locked up, is allowed to roam free. But I'm told the January 6th guys are locked up forever on no charges because they're white supremacists, although there's no evidence of that. A guy with a literal swastika tattoo on his torso who went to fight in a Nazi battalion on video admitting as much, and he said that he was recruited by the CIA, is allowed to roam free. Why? It's because the CIA and the federales are behind him. It's very simple. So whenever you see these groups out here, these so-called white supremacist groups, you just gotta just think, just use your common sense and know this is not some kind of organic thing. This is a thing that's being sanctioned by our U.S. government. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your thoughts on what's happening with these so-called white supremacist groups? Do you think that they're all organic? These are really Nazi guys? Or do you think, like me, you got a handful of guys that might be actual Nazis, and then the rest are straight up federal informants? The guys that are so-called actual Nazis are also federal informants. Then you have federal agents, other informants who may not necessarily be Nazis. Then you have a couple of morons that might want to join. And these guys that join who are not part of the federal protection thing, they're going to go to prison forever. You're talking about football numbers, okay? 54 to 78. You're going to get that kind of time in the penitentiary. But whatever your thoughts on this whole thing are, let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.